Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Megan and I have another read aloud for you today, and this one is a lot different than the other ones that we have previously done. This read aloud focuses on a more dark part of our American history, and that is the era of slavery and the Underground and Overground railroads, and that is what we will be focusing on today, is the Overground Railroad, not the Underground Railroad. For those of you who do not know about the Underground Railroad, it was a secret railway system for African American slaves to take to a different location, typically from the south to up north, to escape their slavery and pursue a more free life in a different location. And the Overground Railroad has the exact same concept, only it is not underground and it is in plain sight. So typically the people who were trying to escape their life had to drop what they were doing in the middle of the night and get up and leave overnight so they can catch that train and go straight through the morning and through the next couple of days up north to a more free life. Now, before we start this read aloud and before we start our picture walk, there is one very, very important figure mentioned in this book that we are about to read, and that person is Frederick Douglass. Do any of you know that name or know who he could be? So for those of you who do not know the name, Frederick Douglass was a former slave, and he actually escaped slavery and became a very famous person against slavery. So he tried to protest and convince people that slavery was wrong, and he actually became a very successful writer in his efforts to persuade people that slavery was wrong. So we were going to be learning about him a little bit in this book, as well as the Overground Railroad. So right before we start, as usual, we're going to do our picture walk. So let's get started. Okay, boys and girls, so hopefully some of those illustrations started making some sense in your brain. And as we read this book, make sure you really take a look at these illustrations and how those illustrations connect to the text on the page. So, are you ready to get started? Let's go. The Overground Railroad by Lisa Klein Ransom and James Ransom. Overground Railroad. To Isabel Wilkerson, your words provide endless inspiration. LCR. In memory of John Christopher Pruitt, July 1952 to June 2019, JER. Some walked, some drove, but we took the train north. Me and Mama and Daddy got to the station, crack of dawn, early before anyone could see us leave. Daddy holding tight to me with one hand, 3 tickets to New York in the other. The porter helped us on board, then handed us our bags and our shoebox filled with food and tied with string onto the first train out of North Carolina, just as the conductor yelled, "All aboard the New York-bound Silver Meteor." See our lunchbox with our string? Daddy led me to the last seats in the colored car and let me sit next to the window to watch as the train whistled and chugged, leaving puffs of smoke behind. All them packed up in their train car. The conductor shouts, "Next stop, Rocky Mount." We left in secret before Daddy's boss knew. Before our lease was up, we said our goodbyes to Uncle Buck and Granddaddy and Grandma, her wet cheek pressed against mine. "Ruth Ellen, you mind your Mama and Daddy," she said. "No more picking," Daddy said, mad. "No more working someone else's land," Mama said, proud. "We're gonna make our own way up north," they both said. Out the window, I watched Blue Ridge Mountains and fields with folks already hunched and picking row after row of cotton, tobacco, and peanuts every day. Except the Lord's Day, just like my granddaddy, but not anymore for my daddy. At the next stop, more people in boxes and satchels squeezed into the colored car. So many they stood on tired feet or sat on hard floors. Where they were. Daddy pulled out cards to pass the time. I won at rummy, Daddy at war. In my bag is the book Teacher pressed in my hands on my last day of school before we left. Next stop, Norfolk, Virginia. In our straight back seats, when we finished with cards, Mama fusses in her purse. Daddy stares ahead, and I take out the book Teacher gave me. The cover's worn, pages too. "Read to me, Ruthie," Mama says, and I do. First the title, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. You know who he is. Let's continue on. Then I turn to the first page. I was born in Tuckahoe near Hillsboro, and about 12 miles from Easton in Talbot County, Maryland. Mama listens till her eyes blink longer than close. But I keep on. Next stop, Alexandria, Virginia. Out the window in between pages, I watch as crooked shacks sprout from the edges of fields. Folks wave from their doorways, and I wave back. Mama turns in her sleep, restless and dreaming. All around me, everybody, leaving for the north, talks in Bible words. Exodus, Egypt, Canaan, hoping that Chicago, Detroit, and New York City are the promised land. Next stop, Washington, D.C. The reporters come and move signs walking Daddy, telling everyone in the colored section to sit where they want. We don't have to stay in front. behind the engine, breathing in smoke, 'cause we're past the line that divides black from white, from south to north, wrong from right. I wait to move, but we wait more. Finally, Daddy takes my hand and Mama stands as we walk down the aisle, out the colored car and through the curtain. Next stop, Baltimore, Maryland. On the other side of the curtain is a dining car with tablecloths and clinking glasses and white faces and good food smells that make my stomach growl and make me wish we hadn't eaten Grandma's fried chicken and hard-boiled eggs and lemon pound cake so soon. Next stop, Newark, Delaware. We walk past row after row of white folks who stare or turn away with eyes that say, "Keep moving," when they see us. Some put hands in empty seats, not here, and we keep walking until we find smiles from new neighbors. Out the window, people turn and point, and I see water, a whole river running along beside us. "It's the Delaware River," a mother says to her boy. The book teacher gave me has pages filled with the story of a boy leaving behind what he knew and heading to what he don't, just like me. Only he didn't have a ticket bought by his daddy and food packed by his grandma. So he was cold and hungry, but he kept on running at night with only the North Star to guide him along the Chesapeake and the Delaware River in secret, getting help along the way till he made his way walking to freedom. North. Next stop, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I watch the tracks in front of me and behind me, just as far as the eye can see. Mama and Daddy say jobs, education, freedom are waiting in New York for us. And like the boy in the book, we all running from and running to at the same time. Last stop, New York City, Penn Station. We step off the train and I stretch my neck to see the bright lights, tall buildings, shimmering against a sky bright as 100 North Stars. Daddy grabs our bags. I squeeze Mama's hand. The other holds tight to my book. Okay, boys and girls. Okay, boys and girls, that was the end of our read aloud, and I know there are some confusing words in that book, so let's review some of them to learn what they mean. Okay, boys and girls, the first vocabulary word is porter. Does anyone know what the word porter means regarding trains? A porter is a railway employee. So a porter is somebody who works on a train, who can assist the people who bought tickets on the train to their seat, to the restroom, to a different cart, just like how an airplane has airline attendants. So our second vocabulary word is conductor. And it's a pretty common word that you hear when you learn about or hear about trains. So what does the word conductor mean regarding trains? Now, a train conductor is an employee who relays information and is in charge of the porters who are also employees of the train and railway company. So conductor has a common misconception or a common falsehood that they control and drive the train, and that is not true. They oversee operations of their other employees and the safety protocols that everyone follows on the trains. So our third and final vocabulary word is lease. Now, what do you think the word lease means regarding slaves? So a lease was the time frame that these people had to do manual and hard labor. It was the time frame that they were in a contract for, working in the fields, picking, as the book said, cotton and tobacco and peanuts. Now, today we think of leases as a house lease. You can lease a house for a certain number of months or years, or even a car lease, where some people can lease their cars for 2 or 3 years and then turn it in to get a new car. That is the difference of lease back then and today. So today I hope this read aloud provided some insight into the struggles these people face trying to better their life. But before we leave, I want you to write 5 sentences of how you could help these people if they came across to your house. So picture you are watching TV at night with your family and you hear a knock at your door and these people need help. How would you help them? All right, guys, thank you so much. I had a great time. I'll see you next time. Bye.